Hello, Namco Museum fans, and welcome to episode 3. And today I'll be talking about the documentary of Dig Dug. It was a create-your-own maze video game released in 1982. I played it when I was 6 or 7. In this special episode, I'll be making references of other games when I talk about the Dig Dug series. The arcade game takes place underground, and you play as a miner named Dig Dug, and his main goal is to destroy the monsters that are underground. There are two types of monsters, Puka and Fygar. The Puka, which appears as tomato-like creatures with goggles, and Fygars are green dragons that breathe fire. Dig Dug was armed with a pickaxe mixed with a bicycle pump. It was used to inflate enemies until they pop. Sometimes the player can use it to stun enemies for a short period of time. There are boulders you can use to crush enemies for extra points. Be sure you don't get flattened by one. Fruits and vegetables will appear after you successfully crush enemies with the boulder. 2 times, actually. The enemies look trapped in those mazes. However, they can phase through walls and that kind of stuff, try to get you. Once you defeat the enemies and you're on to the last enemy, the enemy will try to run away from you. Dig Dug became popular in 1982, just like Pac-Man was. By the time the early 2000s came, Dig Dug's name was changed. He goes by the name Taizo Hori in other medias, and he became a father to his son, Susumu Hori, the character from Mr. Driller, which I will be talking about in this video. Taizo Hori was married to Masio Tobi, a character from Baraduke, and I will be talking about that game too. What I read from the wikis, Masio and Taizo were divorced for some unknown reasons. By the time 1985 came, Dig Dug 2 was released. In this sequel, it takes place on the island, and the enemies are the same. Taizo is armed with 2 weapons, the bicycle pump and the jackhammer. With the jackhammer, you can create faults on parts of the island, causing the island to sink and taking out enemies with it. This game was least common and unsuccessful, what I heard. Baraduke came out in the same year. That's where Masio Tobi came from. She was a space ranger in this game. In the game, she had to battle an army of Octi aliens that took over the planet. She will encounter one-eyed friendly aliens that she had to rescue. When you defeat an Octi your player's size, it will leave behind sphere-shaped capsules. It'll hide friendly aliens you need to rescue and also gun upgrades. But it also hides enemies you better watch out for. There are bosses in each zone. And when you defeat the Octi King, Masio's face will be revealed at the end. Baraduke 2, Japanese name I cannot pronounce, was released in 1988. Masio did not return in that game. You play as a space ranger who is Masio's partner, and you must reach the end zone. There are new weapons like the gunship you can use. Unlike Baraduke that has shields to protect the player, Baraduke 2 lacks shields. Yeah, the guy from Wikipedia complained about that. But if the 3D remake of Baraduke 2 ever happened, although the characters are in 2D as they were animated and the backgrounds are in 3D, I hope the health meter will be included so the player can withstand more hits. Do you fans agree? Back to the Dig Dug series. Dig Dug Arrangement Arcade version, which was released in 1996 on Namco's Classics Collection Volume 2, is similar to the original Dig Dug but with better graphics and better characters and new enemies. I was 6 or 7 when I played it on Namco Museum on the Xbox. There are power-ups in the game that allows you to speed up, increase your pumping power, gives you shields, and a ray gun. There are new enemies in the game, like the Neo Fygar, which is a red dragon, and I don't know what type of abilities does he have. Neo Pukas, which are silver Pukas, which deflates faster every time you try to pump them normally. Those duck-like creatures with horns can charge at you every time you're in front of him. Boom bots, which cause an explosion every time you pop them, taking out multiple enemies at once. Enemy miners have the same moves as Taizo Hori, with a bicycle pump and a drill. Dodontagon and Jammers are cameo characters from Cosmo Gang the video. I thought they were add-ons for Dig Dug Arrangement Arcade version, until I discovered Cosmo Gang the video. There are boss battles in each world. To defeat the boss, you'll have to pop the bomb bots while he's close to the boss, or use a ray gun. Two players can play at the same time. Dig Dug Arrangement CS version came to play on Namco Museum Battle Collection on the PSP in 2005. Different from Dig Dug Arrangement Arcade version, but with 2D graphics designed for the PSP's hardware. New enemies are included, like creatures that carry boulders, and living beanbags, and pickaxe ants, and fast snakes. There are boss fights for each world. In World 1 or 3, you use your pump onto the boss, and it takes a couple of tries until he pops. In World 2 or 4, you have to keep dropping boulders onto the boss until he is defeated. In the final boss in World 5, you have to keep dropping boulders onto the boss until the armor falls off. Then, fill him with air until he explodes. Mr. Driller serve as a spin-off of the Dig Dug series. There are games like Mr. Driller 2, and Mr. Driller G. I remember playing Mr. Driller online on Namco Museum Virtual Arcade on the Xbox 360 when I was 13 years old. Here's the gameplay. However, this gameplay comes from Mr. Driller Drill Land, the remaster. To complete the level, you'll have to drill deeper into the ground while avoiding getting crushed by blocks. Most blocks dissolve every time they match the same color. There are air capsules you need to collect so you can replenish your air supply, and you can use power-ups in the game. The Dig Dug series, along with the Mr. Driller series and the Baraduke series, became the successful games in the world. Baraduke came before Metroid. The Dig Dug media became very popular throughout the series. The most notable storyline came from Dig Dug Digging Strike, which was released on the Nintendo DS in 2005. It was a mix between Dig Dug 1 and Dig Dug 2. The top screen shows the 3D view of the island, while the bottom screen shows the underground view. And to complete the level is to defeat the boss. To defeat the boss, you had to drive those giant sticks down to the ground. And once you drive the giant sticks down to the ground, the island will give way, and the boss who is caught in it will sink with it. There are all sorts of power-ups in the game. And there are power-ups where Taizo's son came to assist, such as the Horicopter, which you can drop bombs onto the boss to stun him, or a giant weight to sink down those giant sticks, and 2 vehicles that came from Rally X and Xevious. That's all I can tell you about the Dig Dug series. I hope you fans understand. In 2 weeks, I'll be talking about the Xevious series. See you in 2 weeks.